Hey, Dirt Farmer Jay here from dirtfarmerjay.com. If you do much work around your home and shop, somewhere along the way you're going to have to cut glass, whether it is to replace a broken window in your house, or you're taking on a new craft like stained glass, or you want to do a little bit of artistry. I'm going to walk you through the basic steps of how to cut glass, do it safely, and do it well. Stay tuned. Hey, Dirt Farmer Jay here from dirtfarmerjay.com. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to safely cut glass. Now, there are different kinds of tools that are out there. The one I'm holding up here is a little bit more of a professional tool. Actually has a reservoir in the handle to keep lubricant in it. And this is more commonly used in stained glass or art glass arenas. However, you can get a wide range of tools right from your big box retailer, the intro tools, up to more of these professional tools. And I'll go into that in just a little bit. But you're going to be cutting different kinds of glass. Now, this is a piece of scrap glass. It is what's called single strength window glass. Double strength does not mean that double thickness. This is about, an eighth, and double strength glass, I'm using imperial measurements in the United States, is 3/32. One of the advantages or disadvantages of using either type of glass, the single strength or double strength, single strength is more economical, but in a larger window it tends to flex more in the wind, thermal contraction and expansion. You'll actually see it kind of throw off little rays of light, so it's not as pretty to look at. 3/32 glass, double strength glass is stronger, doesn't flex as much, and has more thermal resistance, meaning that cold and heat don't pass through it as quickly. So it has a better insulation factor, and when it's paired up in double pane glass or windows, it really helps. All right, let's go ahead and get started. As you start to cut glass, there's a couple things you need. One, you're going to need to put on safety glasses. Number two, you're going to need a good cutter. Here's a couple of styles that are used more in the craft arena, but these are great cutters. I would have some Band-Aids around, because if you do cut yourself, and if you're a craftsperson that is using glass cutters and handling glass ongoing, you're going to get little nicks, so have a good array of bandages ready to go. Another thing you need to have is some kind of cutting oil, and I just like to use kerosene. The reason is when you do dry cuts on glass, it doesn't cut as well, nor does it maintain the edge on the cutter itself. You're going to wear out the tools faster. So putting on a thin lubricant like kerosene works really well. You can use clear mineral oil, those types of things. Different people have different concoctions. My go-to is kerosene. It's cheap, it's easily available, and I kind of like the smell, but I may be a little weird, okay? So those are some of the things you're going to need. To make it convenient, I actually pour off or decant a little bit of kerosene right into a little jar like this, and then I can use an artist brush or flat brush, or if you have flux brushes, you can simply dip into this and then brush where you're going to make a cut on the glass, and you've actually pre-lubricated, okay? So that works really well. Let's go ahead and cap that back up so we don't have a spill accident here. All right, well, let's go ahead and get cutting. I'm gonna put on my safety glasses, and we're gonna show you, first thing I'm gonna do is just cut some glass, and then I'm going to tell you what I was doing. So you might see, once you see it, a little of the nuances that I'm practicing that are going to help you to be very successful in cutting glass. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and pick up my cutter. I'm going to cut, I always like to cut from the far side to me. So I'm going to start over in this area right here. I'm going to go ahead and listen as I cut. You should hear that really nice, I call it the shriek sound. It kind of as it's cutting. And what that's actually doing is scoring a depression across the surface of the glass, creating a weakness on one side of the glass, because glass, while it's a durable material in many ways, it is very brittle. So now that I've scored that under that cut, I'm going to grip like this. And that's where gloves can come in. I don't wear them, but notice that thing about fell apart. I just barely rolled it apart, and that fell apart. Okay, now, let's tell you what I was doing there. And this is where it's really going to help you. There's two different styles that are very common. One is what I call a pencil style or a pen style. It's essentially a shaft. It has a breaker on the end a globe that in case you need to tap the glass before breaking it apart like I just did, you would tap this on the opposite side of the score you just did. Not on the score side, on the opposite side. You're just trying to get the glass to crack a little bit to weaken it, so when you do roll it apart, it breaks cleanly along the score. Inside of this one is a little reservoir that every time you depress that, a little bit of that oil that comes down onto the roller and lubricates. In this case, we're double lubricating because I brushed the glass and then I've got this. The other kind is a pistol grip type. Now, what's the difference here? This is held like this, and you can cut close to you and away to you overhand. I use this every once in a while, and a lot of people like it because it does allow you to get more of your top body over it to do more work like this. But I like to see the cut. I kind of get down a little bit lower, and I use the pencil one. This one's kind of intuitive. You're just going to grip it and then guide the direction of the cut, and I'll give you more detail on that in a moment. This one, not so much so. There are a couple ways to hold it. You can hold it like that and cut over like this or like this. It's a little awkward, but I've seen people do that. The other way that I've had is people grabbing it like this. So you're just holding on to it and you're doing over the cut or coming back at you. Again, depending on your hand strength, these different cuts will work. But most professionals that I've encountered, and this is the skill I used some 25, 30 years ago when I learned this, is simply V, reach through, put the cutter in line with essentially going down. You can see the shape. It's not turned like this. It's not out off at an angle. It's in line. You're going to grip and then push with the thumb. And that is the way I hold the cutter. Now, when I cut, I like cutting from the edge to me. And you can do different things. If you need a straight cut, you can lay this alongside. I can run the cutter right along beside it. You have to keep in mind, there's a little distance from the edge of the ruler to where the cutter is, so it's about 1/8 inch. It's gonna cut offset. And I can do a straight cut just like this. I can start here, keep that against that ruler, and I can get myself a nice straight edge. I lighten up as I get close now. Again, let's look at, we heard that nice clear cut. I can see where the cut happened. You can't see it very well there, but I'm gonna grip on both sides, keeping these sharp edges away, and I'm gonna do a roll down. So here we go, boom, there it goes. Now we have this nice straight cut right along the edge there. What does that allow you to do? Well, true up in some fixed space and a little window repair, a pane of glass. Perhaps you're doing this to do some pictures and you're putting in a frame, but there's another great benefit that I'm doing. By the way, notice I'm working over some newspaper to give this a little bit more cushioning, and little flecks that get under it aren't so readily there. Well, what this allows me to do is to get a 90 so I can get a nice corner, and either I can throw a little square on it like this, or I like my monster square. We're gonna put that right there. Now the disadvantage, notice that this is up. It kind of runs away there. So I have to be careful when here it's easier, but over here, I've got to be careful I don't do this. So let's see what we do. Let's just give it a shot. Here we go, unedited. Let's just see if I'm successful. I'm gonna start at that end. Again, notice the way my hand is situated and gripping the barrel of the cutter. I'm keeping it parallel, lighten up right the end of the cut. Let's see what we get. There's not a whole lot here on the edge to grip, but can I break it? Absolutely. So now we have a 90-degree cut, and there's the scrap piece of glass. Now, there's another little nuance I want to pass on to you that I've seen a lot of people when they're first beginning to cut glass do this, and they don't end up with these really clean cuts. They end up with a jagged edge. It's really, really sharp. I mean, surgical tool sharp. Or it doesn't follow the break line and the thing runs off, and now you're trying to clean up an edge instead of this first nice cut. So here's the trick. When I'm holding this here, you keep it parallel no matter what you do. So if I'm doing a curve, I do it like that, not like a race car. You don't do this. If I put this at an angle to the glass, it will break at a really weird angle, or it'll run away from the cut. So you have to concentrate and acquire the muscle memory of keeping the cutter vertical, just like that. Now let me demonstrate that. I'm just going to take a Sharpie pen and I'm going to just draw on here a curved cut that might be used, let's say if you're doing some leaded glass or you're doing something decorative. So let's just do a random cut. I'm just going to draw this winding cut like this, okay? And that might be something in a cabinet or something like that. So watch very carefully as I do this, and Rob is doing a great job of getting the camera angle down here where you can follow this. Notice what I will not be doing. I will not be doing this. As tempting as it is for you to go vroom, vroom, vroom and follow the little racetrack, don't do it. You won't like the results. Instead, very vertical. So here we go. I'm going to follow this as I cut. Watch the rotation. There is no lean over. I'm simply keeping the glass cutter very vertical as I follow the path. Oh, you saw I went off a little there. Forgive me. All right, and then I end up and lighten up right there. Now, none of the angle changed. All vertical as I went through the path. How did it work? Well, let's try it. Again, no cutaways. I'm going to grip on both sides. And again, I'm always doing this and rolling apart slightly. I can use my own knuckles as the fulcrum. So here we go. I'm going to put it right here, and kind of aim down there, and we're just going to see. You could hear it let go. There we go. And notice along the edge, there's hardly any sharp flare-aways that are, this is sharp enough as it is right now. But there it is, it's very clean. And then I can touch up that edge with a carborundum stone, or a grinder if you're a stained glass artisan, and so forth. So there you go, that's a random cut. Now, let's also jump to something else really quickly here. Here's a piece of art glass that we've had in our inventory for a long time, a nice piece of orange glass. It's streaky. Some have a lot of seeds. This has a medium texture. Can you hear that? There it is. There's a little bit. It's not smooth. On this side, it's more smooth. You can choose which side to cut. But let's see, does it work on this type of glass as well? Well, let's change to this. There's a little bit of here, and I'll do a cut with each one. So if I'm cutting here, this one tends to work much better close to the body and going away. Versus this one works a lot better in my view. You can do it like this, okay? But I like it away and towards me. Let's do two different cuts. I'm gonna grip this. Let's go ahead and oil the glass real quick just to make sure we're okay and I'm not putting wear on it. I'm just gonna do a random, again, let's put a little bit of oil there. And here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and take this, start on this edge, press down, and again, I'm assisting a little bit by pushing down with my other hand. But again, none of this as we went around the corner. All right, so I'm ready to break this cut. Now, if you are a stained glass artisan or you're gonna do a lot of this, you're gonna need to buy something called a running pliers. And I'm a little bit embarrassed because I can't locate mine right now. I've been looking for it, so my apologies. But a pair of pliers like this simply has an arc bottom jaw and then a cupped top jaw. So it allows you, when you squeeze it, to take that scored glass and force it this way very gently so that the cut runs away. Since I can't find the pliers, and frankly, when I'm doing a lot of stained glass, I count on them maybe 10 to 15% of the time. Usually it's my fingers and my hand. So we're just gonna see if it works here. So again, we're gonna take a clamping action on this side, a clamping action on this side. I'm looking down through there, and where the light is hitting from my angle, I can see the score is right down in here. So I'm gonna grab on both sides and I'm gonna roll back, and there you go. Again, it followed that cut precisely. And if I was using a pattern under it or a line that had been traced on it, I can do that. So that's that cutter. Let's also look and see if this cutter works just as equally as well. So again, here we go. And I'll just do kind of another random cut away from me and then coming to me. And we're going to do a little bit more curviness in this one. And you could hear it running across some of the imperfections, the bumps in the glass, which actually gives us beauty. But you could hear I didn't change the angle or slow down or anything. I just ran through them at a nice consistent pressure and rate. And again, we're going to go like this on both sides. And I'm going to roll this where I can hear it. There it goes. And boom. So you just work with the glass until it finally gives. If these are just some of the basic skills you can acquire, you're going to have to put your hands on the work, and then the muscle memory will kick in, and this will become a skill you use both around the home but also in craft settings. Now in the future, we're going to actually be putting together a whole instructional series on the craft of stained glass. This has been a part of my life for about 30 years. We've actually done several commissions, taught classes on it. So watch for that. We'll do an overview video, and then we'll also be making available some online content for subscribers that really want to get in the craft detailed. Hey, if you have some tips that you would like to make sure that we pass on to your fellow subscribers in this area, why don't you write back to us and give us some ideas? We'd be glad to do that. And if you found this video to be helpful, why don't you like it? And better yet, subscribe to our channel and make sure you ring the bell so you get all those great updates instantaneously when we publish. You'll be notified right off first. Hey, thanks for watching us today. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes in the garden as it turns warm around here, also in the kitchen, product reviews, and just in the shop here, crafts. Until the next time, this is Dirt Farmer Jay from dirtfarmerjay.com.